Worship is powerful because of the place that it puts our hearts in.
I think it's important to sing to God because He gave us our voices, even if we're not singers and even if we sing out of key. I think it's an expression, and it's a really powerful expression.
I think it's important to engage in worship because the first thing that comes to mind is it's just glorifying to the Lord, period.
I think it's important that we engage in worship by singing because it puts us in a weirdly vulnerable spot. You know, singing before God, like proudly and like being not mindful of what everybody else thinks allows us to focus and be reminded, okay, He's our one pursuit and I'm gonna sing His praises.
And every single person has a different way of worshiping. The way that they honor the Lord is different in their ways. And some people might be like jumping around and like shouting and screaming and everything. But like then you also have those who are just so like overwhelmed by the presence of the Lord, they just get to sit. And so I think it's so beautiful, and something that I've learned is just that you're worshiping the Lord by giving Him all that you have.
Every single person in the room was created uniquely and individually to offer the Lord something like something that only they can offer Him, you know. And I'm immediately reminded of the first time worship is mentioned in the Bible. It's in Genesis 22 of Abraham and Isaac. That was a moment, and that was a sacrifice and an offering that only He could make, you know, in that moment. And that's what the Lord desires.
Oftentimes you may hear the term like emotional manipulation. I've heard that as a criticism of worship, but I think it's never been our goal to make people feel a certain way. I think the goal is always to allow people to encounter the true heart of God.
There's no other word for worship except freedom for me, because of just the way that you get to bring everything to the Lord. At least for me, I bring everything to Him. I'm like, Lord, you can have it. And that He takes it all. He's already taken it all, and I can just give it to Him. And from that experience, this freedom, like, okay, Lord, thank you. Like, you've done it all already. Like, I get to just be in your presence, and I get to worship you and be here. And there's nothing other than my heart that you are asking from me.
I watched this home video of my little brother a little bit ago opening this train that he got on Christmas morning, and he literally got up and started jumping around and you know, running around the living room and was just giving these little squeals and exclamations. And you know, you see all throughout Scripture that, you know, we're called to become like children. And I think that in praise, that's the posture, something that wells up inside of you when you actually look at the Lord and recognize His mercies for what they are. It's just natural.
Sometimes end up watching worship instead of participating in worship. And I think when we're watching and observing worship, that's when we're more likely to critique and criticize worship. When you're participating, that little stuff doesn't matter, because what you're experiencing is the presence of God.
Again, it's such a sweet gift and blessing that when we're worshiping the Lord, that He lavishes His love on us and everything, but we worship Him because of who He is.